Housing need in Nigeria urban centers has been made greater and housing problems exacerbated by a combination of factors. Nigeria's urban centers is now facing a unique challenge after the rise of insurgency in the northeast.
Create a sustainable development existence.
Paul Abolo is asking every Nigerian to focus on the plight of the internally displaced persons in the country.
The IDP situation is a major challenge, all right? But we can reframe it and create jobs out of it. We can reframe it because it's an opportunity to have a group of youths of a particular age group together and begin to look at what can we do with this synergy that is created with these youths together. We can develop good sportsmanship out of that. We can develop job skills out of that. There's so much we can do with them gathered together. You know, in this country, we don't have good tilers, we don't have good bricklayers, we don't have... So this is just an opportunity for us to create the sustainable development. As a matter of fact, we can reframe the IDP to a blessing, to an opportunity.
Rural-urban migration, which has assumed great proportions during the last 2 decades, has aggravated the housing needs of urban centers in Nigeria. In response to great demand for houses, unplanned, substandard private housing districts continue to emerge in many Nigerian towns, and these in turn tend to degenerate into slums. Considering the fact that Nigeria has a housing deficit of about 17 million, housing experts say any information that will help in providing cheap, affordable and non-profit-driven social housing scheme for the general masses should be embraced.
When you come to rationalize the land use, you would realize that one of the best documents that we had is the Land Use Act. But we are so much against the Land Use Act because of the abuse. The Land Use Act empowered government to take any land in the larger public interest. What that means is that I can come to Ikeja, I can come to Surulere, I can come to Uyo, to Wuse, and discover that this piece of land that these people are living in, I can take that land, aggregate the people that are there, okay, and then demolish that land, put up a structure, resettle all the people that were there, but instead of having maybe about 50 scattered houses, I now have 500 apartment buildings that sit on that same place. Each of those people that was living in a shack now lives in a comfortable building in a well-set environment. The past, the poor have been careful not to trust government because governments have taken this land and commercialized it, which kills the spirit of the Land Use Act.
With the highest rate of population growth, Africa is expected to account for more than half of the world's population growth between 2015 and 2050. During this period, the populations of 28 African countries are projected to more than double. Experts predict Africa will account for more than half of the world's population growth in the next 35 years. 10 African countries, which are Angola, Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Mali, Niger, Somalia, Uganda, United Republic of Tanzania, and Zambia, are projected to increase by at least a factor of 5 by the year 2100.
One of the commonest challenges that we come across in most of our programs is the fact that we do not have enough data to work with. You know, when you trying to have a program, you want to know where you're going to. You want to know what you need to do to get to where you're going to. You also want to know where you're coming from, the baseline data. And sometimes these figures or this data set are hard to find. And that is one of the greatest challenges we face.
According to the United Nations report, while there is always some degree of uncertainty surrounding any projection, the large number of young people in Africa who will reach adulthood in the coming years and start having children of their own ensures that the region will play a central role in shaping the size and distribution of the world's population over the coming decades.
There is a silver lining, in the young population that we have. If we can cater for the young population, we train them, we give them good education that includes sexuality education, that tells them how to manage their families, and we give them skills. We make sure that we have this productive base that as they grow into adulthood, they become more productive. If we can do that for our youth, then the population will be an advantage to us. But if we don't do that, especially now, because you see we have a window period now, if we can invest within the next 20, 30 years, we can reap a dividend from the population that we have now. Especially if you look at the fact that, when we talk about increase in income, it also has to do with how much do you retain as savings at the end of the month. And we know that if we have a big or a large dependency ratio, now dependency ratio has to do with number of working population, that is taking care of the population that is not working, the young ones and the elderly ones. If that ratio is not good enough, that means if you have a large number of people who are depending on the working population, at the end of the day, the money you save may not be enough for you to reinvest so that you can get more economic gain.
Edwin Ikoria is the country representative for One.org in Nigeria. He says this is the time to take the fight against poverty seriously. He believes the Nigerian government has the opportunity to do something now so that nobody, not even the most vulnerable citizens, should be without access to decent health care, education, water, and sanitation.
The MDGs came in when Nigeria transitioned into a democracy again. And then we started all that. We tried 15 years later. We are not where we should be, but we made progress. And there are many reasons why people could adduce to not having been where we should have been. First of all, 5 years after MDG started, Nigeria had not even taken off. Okay? Why? Because of lack of awareness, because there were no institutions to monitor, because there were no concerted effort, no targeted investment to make sure some of these specific goals were met. Then 5 years after, we started making certain efforts, but of course, that would in itself affect the result, the kind of results we get. And so that is why we are saying now, the mistakes were made during the last administration, we shouldn't make this time.
Fast-growing Nigeria is on course to outstrip the United States by 2050 to become the country with the third largest population. India is set to overtake China and become the world's most populous country in less than a decade, 6 years sooner than previously forecast, the United Nations predicted. That's our program for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.